We've got 3 more games coming at you. Our final European match on the way. Standing by, we've got the commentators.
Thank you very much, Tom. I'm Aggro. That's Toli. Your chat, and you're ready for an awesome EU set. I know you are. It's going to be Cyclone up against Lion Guard, and we saw in the last set, Toli, a little bit of an upset there from Elevate. They play up a little bit to Dignitas's level. Do you expect to see Cyclone play up a little bit and try and get a win in their column?
This is getting closer to the midpoint of the season. We saw last set, actually, where Dignitas kind of unfortunately let too much go. They let a split despite being undefeated previous on. Heading into week number 3, though, in this matchup, CycloneGG against Lion Guard. Lion Guard struggled a little bit with 1 win and 1 split with their composition between former Dignitas members, between Ducky, ShadowNightmare, and FrostiaK. They have a lot of synergy between those 3, but now heading into week number 3, as we go into picks and bans for this game, we're going to see how they stack up against a struggling team of CycloneGG, who has also a good synergy between their roster, who hasn't switched at all.
Yeah, one of the few teams in Europe, or North America for that matter, that hasn't made any switches coming into Season 4. Cyclone looked great during relegations, came out looking like one of the strongest teams there, but now so far in the SPL hasn't quite found a victory yet. Lion Guard, they're in the first pick position. First ban away Cabrakan. We've seen so much of this Guardian, and it just continues to get higher and higher in teams' lists. But Susano going to be the first pick, and this is one of the gods that FrostiaK has looked the most comfortable on early on in this season.
I like the idea that they ban away the Cabrakan away from CycloneGG. Deathwalker is known to play it as well in the solo lane, and this also is something that FrostiaK likes to play, but they prioritize his pick right off the bat with the Susano, who's going to have a lot of early aggression in that mid lane.
Absolutely. Fafnir going to be the selection for Kalas in the support role for Cyclone, one of his most favored gods. He plays it quite a bit, and Neith going to be the other pick there. Could go to Wlfy in the mid lane. This doesn't feel like a Vote god to me. Vote likes playing like Apollo and Gibalanque and stuff that has late game carry potential, and Neith just doesn't quite fit that bill.
I think if he does play it in the duo lane, it's more just to shut down FrostiaK's aggressions in the mid lane, trying to make sure that he doesn't make those sneaky plays around the corners, find the pulls. But it's going to be the Hercules and the Poseidon locked in. I like the fact that Poseidon's locked in with the Hercules, because the cripple coming out of the Whirlpool would shut down both the Hercules and the Susano's chances of getting in and out of danger.
Absolutely, and it shuts down the backflip from Neith, the jump away from Fafnir, as well as the hammer teleport here from Thor, which is going to be the selection for iceicebaby in the jungle. We've seen so much Hercules, and this could be a flex pick here for Lion Guard. Could go in the support role or go over to the solo lane for Ducky.
So far, the bans coming out, we see the support between Sylvanas and Khepri taken away from Lion Guard. Geb is still left open, which wouldn't be a bad idea here to trust to be able to get up a more setup. Already having a great dive line potential between this Hercules and Susano. You have the Geb in the back line. You throw out the shields whenever you need to. You got the Cataclysm and the knockup.
Absolutely, and it's going to be Sobek, though, the pick for Cyclone. Another god that gets shut down by Cripple a little bit, but just getting some more front line for Cyclone. Like you mentioned, no selection yet for Lion Guard as far as their support goes, though it could again be Hercules for Big Man Tings in that duo lane. Medusa going to be the selection for FleuryQ and Vamana, so it is going to be Hercules in the support role. We've seen a little bit of this Hercules in the support. Does it concern you at all when you run 4 physicals in a lineup like this?
It does in the later stages of the game, but as long as the Poseidon is left untouched in the earlier stages, he has the momentum with the gold lead that he gets. He'll have the late game items to be able to really shut down, because this could be a strategy developed by Lion Guard where they have these 4 physicals. All of Cyclone has to build physical defense, but now it's going to be ShadowNightmare being able to just absolutely decimate everybody with his Kraken combos.
Gonna have to be looking at the mid laner for Guard Esports. Make a big impact in this one. Cyclone, they've got the double Hunter composition that Valen Squadron has made so common, though they don't have that triple Guardian to usually go along with it. Let's head into game and see exactly what Cyclone's going to be able to do up against this lineup for Lion Guard.
Wlfy is indeed going to be playing this Neith in the mid lane, because Vote's going to be playing this Ram here. We see a really good late game potential out of this Ram, trying to stack up against FleuryQ, who is more designed towards the mid game with the Medusa, which is why he's building already into this Transcendence with the Bluestone Pendant.
Frezzyy has picked up the War Flag like we've seen him do so often in this support role, but the Sunder along with it. Sunder here. Why do you think we see that, Toli?
It doesn't really surprise me that Frezzyy, being an aggressive supporter player, to pick up this this Thunder Relic because of the fact that he loves to get in the thick of things. He loves to be the first person in, and whether or not he's gonna die right off the bat, he's gonna do enough damage to set up his kill for maybe something worth more valuable. As long as he can get maybe the mid laner instead, it's a worthy trade.
Well, you see the dual lane from Lion pushing out the left-hand side, trying to get in and invade these buffs on the left. Meanwhile, in the middle lane, it's the support and the mid laner for Cyclone up against the jungler and mid laner for Lion Guard. Curious decision for Lion Guard to go for mid camps right away after getting a little bit of pressure in mid, because mid camps are worth so little in Season 4. They're going to be fairly far behind in experience after Cyclone steal away the speed.
The whole point of them getting for the left side mid Harpies is just to be able to bounce back as quickly as possible into the mid lane and then look for their own buffs. We see in the dual lane, Frezzyy and FleuryQ already stole the purple and red buff out though. Pull into, not the push, great hesitation, the Sunder and the driving strike. This is why Frezzyy chooses this option.
Love the patience there from Frezzyy. He knows the purification is coming, waits it out, hits the Sunder and the driving strike. ShadowNightmare in a little bit of trouble here in the middle lane, going to take a decent amount of damage. Kala's going to be able to stick to him very nicely because of that speed buff that he and Wlfy stole away. But FrostiaK went and stole away the left-hand back Harpies. Both buffs still up on the left-hand side for Lion Guard, so even though they're a little bit behind in experience currently, they've still got some farm waiting for them on the map.
Yeah, Cyclone was doing a good job being able to steal away the speed and the blue buff here. We don't see Ducky with that blue buff, and that's going to be a little problematic for an early game Vamana, which is why he went into this mana challenge, trying to make sure that, all right, we're going to lose the solo lane, that's fine, my dual lane is going to do fine. I'm going to pick up this mana challenge to stay in the laning phase longer than I would more than likely get used to, and the Sobek is probably going to have a little bit of an advantage off of that, but still, once the Vamana hits about level 7, gets his stride, he'll start to win these trades slowly but surely.
See in the middle lane here, both mid laners picking up this Bumba's Mask. We are in the new patch, and so Bumba's Mask, you aren't required to find that last hit in order to get that heal or mana heal back whenever you finish off a jungle camp, but it's whoever's closest to the camp whenever the jungle camp falls. And there it paid big dividends for ShadowNightmare because he was incredibly low in that middle lane after some good poke from Kalas and Wlfy together, but then he just goes and solos back Harpies, and he's pretty much full health right now. What is the payoff that you're giving up whenever you're getting this Bumba's Mask in the mid lane?
You have to be thinking about where your jungler is going to be at all times. If you're going to have FrostiaK rotating left or right-hand side, you're going to be left alone clearing the wave. You might as well pick up the Bumba's Mask and trying to be able to sustain, get to some mana back, because Poseidon has a large cost per ability compared to a lot of other mid-mages, so having that Bumba's Mask, clearing the waves, not only helps you stay in the lane a little bit longer, but it's going to be able to make you out-farm your opposition.
iceicebaby on this right-hand side could look to try and gank Ducky, though Ducky does ping 5 right as Ice was in that right-hand jungle, which is the reason you don't see him go up into that ultimate. I mentioned it during the drafting phase, totally, with this draft from Cyclone. We've seen a very similar composition pay big dividends for Valen Squadron, who's at the top of Europe right now. Double Hunter, but they usually run the 3 Guardians, but Thor is kind of can kind of fill that same role as a Guardian jungle.
He controls a lot of space with that Tectonic Rift. He has a global pressure as well, as long as you get a relatively tanky. Nice little stun block away from the tower. Ducky's going to go in the ult, though. He should be fine.
It's just a little bit of a curious decision to make yourself use that ultimate there. Ducky could have just waited until that wave was under tower and gotten away without using the ultimate, but either way, safe for now. FrostiaK's made the rotation over just to relieve a little bit of pressure on that right-hand side. Frezzyy looking for Wlfy in the middle lane. Backflip gets him out of that. Pull back in from Hercules, so Wlfy safe for now. Not trying to rush down that Transcendence that we see a lot of Neith mids usually do. Instead, the Bluestone, he picks up a Bumba's Mask as well. Now looking towards his boots, but I imagine the Transcendence will be the next item for him.
Normally, Neith's definitely like to do so. iceicebaby going to get pulled back in. A lot of damage with that Storm Kata. Forced into the beads as well. Typhoon finding the knockup, but it's actually going to be immune.
Kraken not quite in time as iceicebaby just gets up into the sky, thinking about coming back down, but instead is going to head towards his speed buff. Deathwalker lurking in the water there just to dissuade any extra aggression coming out of Lion Guard. Just not quite in there, just not quite there in time for ShadowNightmare. Half a second too late on that Kraken, but I think he pulled the trigger as fast as he could have.
He had to have tried to at least go for the kill, because you might as well pull the trigger. You'll be kicking yourself thinking about, like, man, what if I pulled the Kraken and then got the kill, you know? But at least he tried. He didn't get it, but he forced out the ultimate.
Frezzyy gonna push Wlfy back into that that Whirlpool. There's the Sunder. The title surge a little bit off the mark. Frezzyy still waiting to use that boulder and finally crushes Wlfy down in the middle lane. Both kills early on going to the support player on this Hercules. This is typical Frezzyy, man. He wants to play aggressive all the time.
It's not that bad of an idea to get your warrior support online, iceicebaby. Force the beast just to evade the slow, but he's going to get, nice Berserker Barrage, preventing the pull from FrostiaK.
Really, really nice there. Of course, you are knock-up immune or knock-back immune during Berserker's Barrage. Wind Siphon classed as a knockback, so it's really not more of a knock-2, but either way, be able to immune it with that Berserker's Barrage. Though Ducky does manage to get that Purification Beads out from iceicebaby due to the slow pressure he brought in that right-hand jungle.
Deathwalker tried to find the pluck from FrostiaK under the tower, is missing it, gonna take a little bit of poke in return, and now it's the tables have turned for Ducky. He's the one that's been able to invade the blue buff with the addition of FrostiaK's help a little bit. And Frezzyy finding those 2 kills earlier on, like I was mentioning, it's not the worst thing in the world for your warrior support to get this. You're trying to get them online as quickly as possible. The warrior supports do so much work in team fights in the early to mid game. They start falling off a little bit in the late game, but with this kind of a lead for Frezzyy, especially with Sunder, they should be fine.
He still hasn't backed yet. Kraken used there to secure those oracles for Lion Guard with ShadowNightmare. But yeah, Frezzyy just now backing, and he already almost finishing off Shield of Regrowth, going for a little bit more of a selfish-oriented build, not the Sovereignty or the Heartward Amulet we're used to seeing out of Guardians right away. Instead, trying to look to push this lead that he's earned for himself early on.
And he already has the highest net worth of the game, higher than both Soul Laners, higher than both Hunters, just basically challenging both of those roles off of those 2 kills. This is something you really need to extend your advantage of if you're Guard Esports. Just continue riding off of the success, off of the aggression from Frezzyy. Making these rotations behind in the mid lane against Wlfy has been so successful, so I expect more of this to come.
Despite losing his first blue buff, Ducky manages to take Deathwalker's tower very, very early on. Pre-7 minutes, that solo tier 1 already in the ground. Now with a level lead is Ducky. Frezzyy in the middle of 4 people here, needs to be a little bit careful, but there's the driving strike directly into the triple tapped boulder onto Vote, and FleuryQ petrifies him way far away. Kalas has to use medication there just to get himself a little bit more healthy. iceicebaby up into the sky, thinking about going down on a FleuryQ. Kalas wants to go with him. There's the purification beads from FleuryQ. The cripple prevents iceicebaby from teleporting, but the acid spray gets blocked by the wall. Iceice may escape for now, but FrostiaK's made the rotation.
Just like that, the rotation comes through. Kalas gonna get knocked up. The cripple not in time, but doesn't matter. Jetstream is good. Wlfy, no mana. Stormcloud elected not to go in, but Ducky from the back.
Wlfy nowhere to go. Kraken gobbles him up. ShadowNightmare puts the 5th kill on the board for Lion Guard. Cyclone, just no response quite yet. Vote, looking to find some snipes on a FleuryQ. Hit all 3, but then look at how low FleuryQ is. Meanwhile, FrostiaK cleans up iceicebaby in the middle lane. Again, this is just a character that FrostiaK, who we always talk about him, totally not the most consistent jungler, but has the potential to make unbelievable highlight reel plays. I feel like Susano is one of those gods that he is always making those plays. He feels more consistent on this character.
One of these tricky gods is Susano. He always is an advantage to be able to maneuver around the map as long as your ability is on cooldown. Having 4% additional movement speed as long as you have that one ability on cooldown, which is why we see him ping-pong from left lane back into the mid lane, even diving behind that tier 1 tower just to be able to pick off iceicebaby. Now, that gives him a 2-level lead over the opposing jungler, even finishing off his Hydra's Lament. This forces iceicebaby now to think more defensively, which is why he went into Mark of the Vanguard.
Frezzyy managed to steal away that red buff and finds the pool onto Kalas on these right-hand mid-harpies. Decent heal there from Kalas thanks to Coerce, but he's gotten the wrong way. Nowhere for him to go. Boulder, FrostiaK gonna be able to pick him up. Deathwalker is here, lurking in the waters, but everyone is just so healthy from Lion Guard, it's not going to matter. Another pick goes the way of Lion Guard, and they just seem to be working like a more cohesive unit than Cyclone right now.
And they're also maximizing their DPS output. ShadowNightmare throws out the Whirlpool, he pops his Trident Steroid, and gets off 2 more inhibits before he throws out the knockback as soon as Kalas basically rides the tip of the edge of the Whirlpool, whereas he could have potentially looked for the jump. He just gets knocked back. Everybody from Lion Guard finds an easy kill onto the support.
And that opens up the Gold Fury gold lead in Lion Guard's favor, right around 400 gold. Petrify in the left lane. Vote had dashed into FleuryQ. The box is on. Vote getting very, very low. That last auto from FleuryQ misses, and now he's going to get sniped out. Don't even need the long range World Weaver because Vote's got it from the air. Vote able to pick up that solo kill onto FleuryQ. FleuryQ's dead there either way, totally, because of the World Weaver, but I think that Vote would have died if FleuryQ had hit that last auto.
Absolutely. He missed that one auto. Just so unfortunate. He was out of range, and he didn't want to go aggressive too far forward because of he was afraid of the archers that was about to do a little bit of damage to him. But that's 2 times in a row now that Vote has hit all 3 snipes in these last 2 encounters. So Vote has been showing his stuff for CycloneGG.
Frezzyy just in between the middle towers right now, trying to chase down Wlfy, but the rest of Cyclone is here to support, trying to get underneath this tier 1 tower. The slows from Vote are enough. Kraken there to zone everyone away. Frezzyy looks like he may have escaped with his life because of that help from ShadowNightmare until iceicebaby comes crashing down, looking at ShadowNightmare, then immediately retreats back. Boulder onto Deathwalker, and finally someone falls as FrostiaK picks up the solo laner.
Great communication between Frezzyy and ShadowNightmare. The pull, delayed push. Oh, but Ducky nowhere to go. The rest of his teammates did back. But either way, that communication between ShadowNightmare and Frezzyy, the pull into the whirlpool. He elected to hold on to his driving strike just to make sure that the pluck was not going to be a factor for Deathwalker. So in the end, though, trading solo for solo is still going to put Lineguard in a good spot. They're not really losing anything by sacrificing Ducky there. They're still up about 4,000 gold at the 11-minute mark.
You see Cyclone, they've bought a couple starter items here after completing their boots. You see Deathwalker went for Sands of Time right after those boots, and iceicebaby, Mark of the Vanguard. Why are they doing this, Tolly?
Normally, a lot of players like to go for power spikes in team fights in this stage. The 10-minute mark is when the Portal Demon spawns, the Fire Demon spawns. A lot of teams will be looking for this early game objective.
Oh, the Typhoon there just to create and make sure enough that iceicebaby cannot try and full commit to that Portal Demon as it does go down in Lineguard's favor. Deathwalker, no ultimate. Ducky and FrostiaK trying to pick him up in the oppositional jungle, but Frezzy's here, and there's the driving strike, and that puts Deathwalker into the kill column for FrostiaK. He's already got 5. The Boulder not quite there. The slow's good from ShadowNightmare as he has completed that Gem of Isolation, but all in all, Lineguard, they get the Portal Demon and the kill on the Deathwalker yet again, who just really isn't that tanky at this stage. He's only got tier 2 of Breastplate of Valor completed.
No, not at all, especially going for Shoes in the Maga instead of Reinforced. Grief Callous Force under the tier 2 tower. Ducky's going to tank the tier 1 with his ultimate, and that's going to leave the tier 2 a little bit exposed, but at this point, without a minion wave and a lot of cooldowns on effect, Lineguard's going to have to retreat a little bit and hold it off.
They just don't seem to have any pressure anywhere around the map right now. I mean, the Neith in the middle lane has got excellent clear in the early game, but Poseidon does as well. They had a little bit of pressure on the right-hand side because of iceicebaby helping out Deathwalker early on, but then we saw how quickly Ducky was able to turn that around and get that tier 1 tower down very, very quickly. And now it's just Lineguard grouping up, roaming around the map. They're up 5,000 gold, and Cyclone just don't seem to have an answer.
The problem was iceicebaby didn't have the global pressure really to exploit anyone from Lineguard, especially coupled up with Wlfy on the Neith. We saw that one ultimate on the left-hand side that was thrown onto FleuryQ, but that didn't matter because of Vote's perfect aim with those snipes. So definitely would have liked to see iceicebaby make a bigger statement in the early to mid-game with the Thor global presence, but it's been basically Lineguard that hasn't given him this opportunity because of Frezzyy's presence in the early game.
Do you think that spending 800 gold on this Mark of the Vanguard is one of the reasons he wasn't able to put pressure on the map, because he didn't have enough power to just full combo someone?
Not necessarily. I think just Frezzyy has been all over the place, making play onto Vote, making a play onto Wlfy, and whenever your mid laner falls, the jungler is going to follow very quickly.
Left-hand tower getting sieged down by Lineguard. Teleport from Deathwalker. Kalas gets plucked directly into the Kraken. The knockup is good as ShadowNightmare never gives the Dwarf a chance to respond. Frezzyy, he's very, no, that's FleuryQ, and he gets finished off by Wlfy on that mid lane Neith. Typhoon coming through, gonna knock up Deathwalker as Ice goes way up there, waiting for his cooldowns, but look at how low Deathwalker is, and as a result, Cyclone, they're gonna have to back up.
4-on-4, losing the Hunter, only getting the support. Frezzyy trying to find a pull, not on the mark, but it's all just a tanking duration for the tier 1 tower on the left-hand side to be able to be taken. FrostiaK is gonna find iceicebaby for a little one-on-one Scourge, but Thought he was going to wrap around there for a second.
No, FrostiaK, he senses that the enemy speed buff is up, and just like any good jungler, immediately goes to it, trying to make sure the enemy jungler is as frustrated as possible. Nothing's worse than losing that speed buff, but it's pretty bad losing all 3 of your tier 1 towers pre-15 minutes. Cyclone, they don't have really anywhere to run once Lion Guard engage without having any of those tier 1 towers available, and Lion Guard's been engaging frequently because of this lead they've got for
Cyclone
themselves.
has invaded the speed and blue at the beginning of the game, but ever since that point in time, FrostiaK has just not let go of iceice's speed. He's been on point that whole time. Wlfy has respawned 15 men in Mark Frezzyy. He's looking to lead the charge. The Whirlpool is going to prevent the pluck. Still a lot of damage out to Deathwalker.
And then he goes in with the charge prey. He's not even going to be able to use his ultimate in time. Frezzyy along the backside. FrostiaK, that is, in the backside looking to finish off Vote. He gets very, very low. Kraken immune there by the Aegis from iceicebaby. Wlfy has to use purification beads after getting plucked in by Frezzyy. And FrostiaK immediately follows him. The boulder's massive. The Petrify is as well. 2 fall. Kalas is able to pick up FrostiaK. Finally, someone shuts down the jungler, but it doesn't matter. 4 dead for Cyclone, and the Gold Fury ready to be taken once more by Lion Guard.
Already up 5,000 gold. They're about to be up 7,000 after this Gold Fury. Not even 16 minutes into this game, and Lion Guard Esports, they're looking like a totally different team here. This is kind of the confidence booster that they really need here. Taking advantage of CycloneGG that hasn't been able to win a game yet in the SPL, and this is going to put Lion Guard in a pretty good spot heading into game 2 off of this momentum.
Yeah, they're looking great right now, totally. 7,000 gold in the lead, 8,000 experience, and that's the big one because Frezzyy, he's level 12 right now. He's only 2 levels behind his own Hunter, ready to pick up his second relic, probably a defensive one to make up for the Sunder that he picked up at level 1. Whereas Kalas only level 11, and look at the level disparity in the jungle. 16 for FrostiaK, only 12 for Thor.
And I'm also looking at ShadowNightmare here, level 15. Like you were talking about, there's 4 physical gods here on the side of Lion Guard, but the fact that ShadowNightmare has this early lead, he was left untouched, he has 0 deaths. Now he's in a position where he has the Poseidon power spike of the Gem of Isolation, the Fatalis. He's going to be the biggest threat here for all of Cyclone to really worry about.
Vote split pushing down this left-hand side, trying to get some global gold for his team. Kraken is used to secure that portal demon for Lion Guard. Push onto iceicebaby, falling very, very low, very, very quickly. And there's where you see that golden experience lead really start to shine, is in quick little engagements like that as he just melts. Ice, no response whatsoever. Fire Giant started up here by Lion Guard. Vote still on this left-hand side, so it's a 3v5. Typhoon only knocks up Kalas as Wlfy trying to get away, pulled back in. Ducky trying to stomp him down. Petrify hits 2. Kalas up into the transformation, trying to get his cooldowns back. Actually stuns Ducky underneath the tower, and Cyclone turn it around.
There's a great play coming out of Cyclone because during that whole time, Vote has been split pushing on the left. He finds the tier 1 and the tier 2 Deathwalker, trying to find ShadowNightmare. Great use of beads though, but Wlfy finds the return kill. Left-hand side though, Vote trying to get this Phoenix, but there's no more minions to be able to tank it.
Very close. Nice route there onto Frezzyy. No mana left. Wlfy wants to try and chase him down, but because of that extra speed from Shield of Regrowth, Frezzyy is going to be able to get out of there A-okay. Frezzyy still isn't that tanky right now. Totally hasn't finished off anything until right now, just now finishing that Sovereignty. And speaking of Sovereignty, I was going to bring this up earlier. It is shocking to me that Cyclone, and specifically Kalas, doesn't go for Sovereignty up against 4 physicals. I know ShadowNightmare is doing a lot in the early game, but I mean, look at how much damage FrostiaK and FleuryQ and Frezzyy are doing.
The fact that Frezzyy doesn't have that much defenses in the early game doesn't matter if Lion Guard is the one to engage and catch people out of position. They have so much offensive abilities that their defensive itemization doesn't matter at this point. As long as they finish it off now with the Sovereignty, they'll be in a good spot to keep winning these team fights. Like you mentioned, Cyclone not picking up the Sovereignty is really questionable considering there's 4 physical on the side of Lion Guard. Having that 20 physical protection aura is always a good thing to have for your team.
Absolutely. Look at how many items FrostiaK has completed. He's already got the Heartseeker, the Hydra's Lament, and now the Brawler's Beatstick. Just getting more power, more penetration. Going to shut down a little bit of that healing from Kalas, from Wlfy, from Deathwalker, and the lifesteal from Vote as well. But the real big problem, if you're looking at this build, if you're Cyclone, is that's a lot of power that FrostiaK's going to be able to immediately apply to you with that Heartseeker. Then you got the Bluestone ticking, the auto attack cancels courtesy of Hydra's Lament. Susano is going to be swinging about as hard as he ever will at this stage in the game.
It's definitely working for Guard Esports, so if it ain't broke, don't fix it. The Susano has been so good for FrostiaK and giving the space that ShadowNightmare really needs to be left alone in these encounters. Frezzy's going to get stunned out a little bit as he's looking for a pull. Fire Giant is still up here. Guard was flirting with the idea earlier on, but left-hand side, Deathwalker is going to force Ducky to back and handle that Phoenix push.
Just getting a little bit of much-needed farm on that left-hand side for Deathwalker. Still 4 members strong on the right side for both Guard and Cyclone. This could be a kind of awkward time to have a lead, totally, because it's still a little bit early to go for the Fire Giant if you're only up about 5,000 gold. But you've already taken all the tier 1 towers, and is it too risky to push a tier 2 at this stage?
It's not too risky, but you just have to be looking for FrostiaK or Frezzyy to be looking for these pulls. And once you get the 1 or 2 picks, or at least get somebody low enough, then you can look for the towers afterwards.
Well, FrostiaK immediately looking at Wlfy. There's the backflip, but not enough to get away from the jungler. Kraken there, Aegis out, and Purification. 2 ultimates for 2 relics in the mid lane. ShadowNightmare gets dunked and immediately very, very low. Good Petrify from FleuryQ, but Vote able to pick up the enemy mid laner. FrostiaK very deep in this team fight, trying to find the back line for Cyclone. Forced to back away, but Frezzy's not backing down anywhere.
No, not yet. Lurking in the water is going to be able to chase him down and secure that kill. Vote's getting credit with that charge spray off the mark onto FleuryQ. Just too fast is the Fatalis Medusa, but the rest of CycloneGG, they're not done yet. iceicebaby on the left-hand side. I was thinking about maybe hammering in and finding the stun, which would have been a good idea, but now 5-on-3 advantage for CycloneGG for 20 seconds. This could put them back in the game, at least getting 2 towers here.
Absolutely. The only ultimate is Colossal Fury for Ducky, and that's not really great against a sieging team like Cyclone. Tier 1 tower is going to fall very quickly, and here's where we see their composition really start to shine. You've got the double hunter to push down these towers very well as the coerce to up the attack speed of those hunters. They're going to tear through this tower pretty quickly here. FrostiaK and squad seem content to just let Cyclone have it. And all of a sudden, a game that looked like Guard was going to run away with is basically even. Only 3,000 gold in the lead, down from the 8,000 gold lead they had just a couple minutes ago.
Too ambitious was Guard and specifically ShadowNightmare. Getting caught against that Thor wall, out of position. He didn't have the beads available. He used it offensively earlier on in that encounter, as well as putting himself that far out there. Without that magical damage, Guard was just destined to lose the rest of that team fight.
Not only that, but then Frezzyy is still in the back line, in the middle of everyone. FrostiaK is there as well, but you're playing one of the most mobile characters in the game on Susano. You're able to get in and out at will, basically. So Frezzyy getting picked also opens up that door along with ShadowNightmare. Vote going to take a little bit of damage here. Cannot roll out of that whirlpool. FrostiaK follows him after that rolling assault. iceicebaby up into the sky looking for FrostiaK, but Ducky has already finished off Vote with the help of FrostiaK.
Landing back down, iceicebaby off the mark. Backflip is going to get met by a boulder. Backhand side, FrostiaK diving the tier 2 tower. The rest of Cyclone running on the left. And now it's been a 2-pick on the side of Guard without the relics from Cyclone.
Oh, great pull. The Kraken as well, right on top of Collis. No jump available for him, and FleuryQ going to even up his score line. 2, 2, and 9 for the rookie hunter for Guard. 3 dead for Cyclone. Now it's not too early for that Fire Giant. 22 minutes in, and with 3 dead, iceicebaby no ultimate, Deathwalker no ultimate. This is going to be a free Fire Giant the way of Guard.
It's so important to protect your backline. In the earlier encounter, Guard lost ShadowNightmare right off the bat. In that last one, Cyclone lost Vote, and without that ROM damage in this late game, level 18, he has the Wind Demon online. That's really problematic for CycloneGG. They're also relying on Fafnir to be able to boost the attack speed out of this late game Rama, and the fact that they killed Vote before he even got into the sky just goes to show how much offensive capabilities this squad has.
So much burst damage potential for Guard, and as well as a lot of lockdown. This draft pretty well crafted for Guard, though they are missing a little bit in terms of long range reliable CC, whereas you see on the side of Cyclone they've got the hammer from Collis, they've got the wall from iceicebaby, and the long range root from Wlfy. But if everyone is just in your face, those long-range CCs don't really make a difference, and that's exactly what Guard has been doing all game long, just running, holding that W key right at Cyclone.
That's what you have to do with the Susano Hercules. I don't think Frezzyy knows any other key besides the W key.
It's true.
He even upgraded his Sunder just to be able to find more kills for his team, which is why he's less tanky, now working more towards probably what's going to be the Bulwark of Hope, more than likely trying to survive earlier against Deathwalker.
Still, no sovereignty for for Cyclone. In fact, a Heartward Amulet picked up before the Sovereignty for Cyclone. Really worried about that damage coming out of ShadowNightmare. He is second on the player damage charts, but again, 4 physicals. A little bit curious decision there. Left side getting sieged down a little bit by Lion Guard. Frezzyy just trying to steal away back camps because he loves nothing more in Smite than to steal away enemy back camps. Ducky still on this right-hand side, pushing down this minion wave, but he does have teleport ready to go in case the engagement breaks out on the left.
Deathwalker was on that right-hand side, and he did teleport over to the left just to be able to try to defend this tier 2 tower. All 5 members with Lion Guard with that Fire Giant at the 24.5-minute mark have a pretty respectable lead here. It's not insurmountable where Cyclone can't fight, but they shouldn't be fighting outside this tier 2 tower.
Deathwalker a little bit far forward, trying to find the pluck, and it isn't going to be able to find it. iceicebaby up, looking for a target. Is going to look for FleuryQ, but he's not there. FrostiaK was lying in wait. Typhoon going to whiff, though. Deathwalker lurking underneath the waters, taking quite a bit of damage. The boulder, not quite enough. The Petrify going to start out Wlfy, but he backflips out of the Kraken, courtesy of that Purification Beads. Ducky is here. He's teleported in. ShadowNightmare in the front line, trying to find it. Walled off from the rest of his team, but Kalas up into that dragon, but FrostiaK dives that tier 2 tower, getting everyone very, very low. The Whirlpool and the stop down from Ducky finishes off Deathwalker. FleuryQ finds Kalas as well. The only 3 members from Cyclone forced into a retreat.
ShadowNightmare was still going very aggressive, forced to go into the Aegis once he realized he had to back 2 easy picks from Lion Guard with his Fire Giant buffs. They find themselves the tier 2 tower. They're not done yet, though. They're going to go for this Phoenix, and it's only Vote, Wlfy, and iceicebaby. They can't stop the first one.
FrostiaK was just lying in wait there, daring someone from Cyclone to try and get in and defend that Phoenix. No one does, and as a result, it falls quickly for Lion Guard. Wlfy just able to backflip out of that Whirlpool before the tick damage started. Frezzyy going to tank up this tier 2 tower here, and then while they don't have the double hunters, Lion Guard still have... Where did Wlfy just go?
Baited. Wlfy backflipped away from the Whirlpool earlier on during the first initial tick. Takes about 0.8 seconds or so, so you have a little bit of time to use your escape, but going back in, didn't respect the distance that FrostiaK can create by jet streaming in and then finding the pull afterwards without that escape on the side of Wlfy. That was another easy pick, and ShadowNightmare, look at this. He's not afraid to lead the charges of Poseidon.
That's what he's been doing this entire team fight, basically, playing this front line Poseidon, just controlling the enemy. He's immediately going to start taking this Phoenix, though, and as a result, going to take a lot of damage. There's a dunk in from iceicebaby, but it's met by a Kraken. Frezzyy able to pick him up. Vote does find the snipes onto ShadowNightmare and make him pay for it, but the Petrify onto Deathwalker, followed in by FrostiaK. He's going to find the solo laner underneath that Phoenix. Now trying to box out against Vote, is able to get away from him. Ducky finds Kalas. Frezzyy doing Frezzyy stuff.
That's all he wants to do. He wants to be able to taunt you as much as possible. He's tanking the Tide, and he took about 4 or 5 shots there. That's where all his health went. Finding 3 picks, again, is Lion Guard, as well as their second Phoenix of the game, making that Titan out of Cyclone much more vulnerable. Fire Giant's about to respawn in 45 seconds, so this is going to be Lion Guard's plan here. They already got those 2 lanes going to be flooding in those fire minions, and that's not going to allow CycloneGG to safely leave their base.
A little bit of a silver lining here for Cyclone in this game, and that's that they're down 8,000 gold. They find a way to bring it back within 2,500 with a couple of good team fights. Excellent split pushing by Vote and engagement by Cyclone that goes pretty well on the right-hand side. So there are some silver linings here. This team definitely has some things that they can look at after the game and say, all right, we did this well, we need to do a little bit more of this, and then we can try and find some W's.
I think that Cyclone should have went for an Odin pick in their draft before the secondary ban phase, because the first 3 picks on the side of, oh, hold on, I thought the FrostiaK's going to find a nice double pull.
iceicebaby, there's the Aegis, but the knock-up immediately. FleuryQ able to find him, and again, it's FrostiaK making it happen for the rest of his team. Top of the player damage charts across both teams, and by a pretty significant margin, 6,000 player damage, 10, 1, and 9 for the Hunter. He's full build. He's so much so full build that he's already got a ritual ready to go, flickering, just in case Susano didn't have enough
the snipes.
mobility.
Oh, the third one not on the mark for Vote, unfortunately. Second one looked like it was about to steal, but either way, Lion Guard is in position now to close out this game with this fed FrostiaK here, with that full build, with the flickering. As if he hasn't been aggressive enough. Let's give him another escape potential here to be able to dive that backline. Last Phoenix being looked at here by Lion Guard.
Minion waves pretty far pushed up in both mid and left. Cyclone did have a chance to really defend their Phoenix area too well in that time that Lion Guard was taking down that Fire Giant. There's a pluck onto Kalas, immediately pushed back into the team, knocked back into the Whirlpool. He can't jump away, and Frezzyy, he's able to find him quickly. Frezzyy dropping low, though, underneath that Phoenix, but the
Medusa.
Petrify was big.
Medusa doing so much damage. FrostiaK diving that backline, siphoning Wlfy's life away. Still diving the Phoenix on the right is Ducky, but with the fire minions here, that's going to be the first game for Guard Esports.
FleuryQ is going to have to take up this Phoenix a little bit, and they look a little bit more interested in killing the members of Cyclone than killing the Titan, but it doesn't matter in the end. As like you mentioned, Toli, the Titan will fall 31-11, a 20-kill lead for Lion Guard. There was a time, like I mentioned, that the game got pretty close in Cyclone's favor, but Lion Guard able to turn it around and pull out the victory.
It was all Frezzyy all the time. Those
Yeah.
rotations, those Sunder plays, shutting down Wlfy, shutting down Vote as well. And we saw Vote as well do some crazy good snipes in
Yeah.
a lot of these team fights and encounters. The fact that he was still able to make these plays while still being down shows that there's still a breath of life for CycloneGG moving forward. They just have to worry and work on their drafting.
Absolutely. I mean, Vote has always had this potential as a hunter. You know, everyone's saying his mechanics are really good, but the rest of the team, you know, he needs to work on his positioning and this and that. Everyone